Welcome to the tutorial for workshop organizers. We're going to cover how to edit your schedule and add speakers to it, how to give out complimentary tickets, and how to give out reserve tickets. So when you log into the website as an organizer or a primary contact, you should see a link to your workshop application right on the home page. I'm using Florian's workshop as an example, and here's his link. It looks like this. And when you click that, it takes you to the workshop application as copied from CMT. And the workshop application is a multi-page application. You access the rest, you would update the application itself, which includes the title, the abstract, and the organizers, including the ordering of the organizers through this button right here. There's 4 more pages of it and a submit button at the end of that. But if you're editing just the schedule, you just use this button here, and you'll notice that there's a button for the comp tickets, and there's no button yet for the reserve tickets. And so the reserve tickets button depends on the workshop chairs having decided how many reserve tickets each workshop gets. And so once that happens, the page would look more like this. That button would appear. Okay, so let's work with all 3 of these. First with the workshop schedule editor. Okay, and this is again Florian's workshop on visually grounded interaction and language, where he's already added a lot of speakers. And you can see where he's added a poster session, and he's listed everybody that's in that poster session. And that's important to do because that gives us an indication of how many presenters you're going to have, including not only these, but all of them. But that's the biggest chunk. So that's important to put the poster presenters in. So let's cover how to add a new presentation. Clicking this button here causes a form to appear at the bottom of the page where you can add a new talk. Okay, so I'm going to start it at 11 o'clock, going to 12 o'clock. The abstract is optional. And this will create the event. Okay, so here's the event. Now, just because my name is in the talk title does not mean that I'm added to the talk. So we have to go down here to the bottom of the page again. And now there's a new form at the bottom. There's the original one to edit the event itself, and a new form that will allow you to add and reorder presenters for this particular event. So I'm going to add myself to the talk. And once the website recognizes an email address as valid as a known account, it will turn this checkbox green. But there are conditions like what just happened there when I accepted the autocomplete, where it will skip the check. Make sure that the cursor's in the box and just tap the shift key and it'll force it to do the check. Now you know it's a good address. Okay, so there I am on the talk, added right there. I'm going to add a second speaker. I'll add Mary Ellen Perry. And you don't, I believe, have to force it to do the check. Okay, so now we're both on there. But let's say I want Mary Ellen to be above me, so we can hit this up arrow to reorder them. Now she's first, and we show up correctly up here. Okay, so that's how to add someone to a new talk. If you wanted to interact with an existing talk, you would first need to click the title of that talk, and then that sets these 2 forms at the bottom of the page to that talk instead of the other one. Okay, so now I could add a new speaker or reorder using that talk. Now, it's important to get everyone set up in here by October 1st so that the workshop chairs know how many tickets to give you. But that doesn't mean that after the workshop chair's deadline, that you can't go in here and make modifications. It just won't have an effect on how many tickets you're given. So you can come in here up to and during the conference and make changes. So let's say Jay McClellan canceled on you at the last minute and you invited someone new. You could come in here and modify this, and it would take a while to make it to the mobile app, but it should appear within 10 minutes in the workshop PDF and immediately in the online version at neurips.cc. So that gives you an idea of how to interact with the schedule. We're going to go back now and look at how to how to add comps. So we're going to go here, and it's the same kind of thing. You just add by email address. And I already have a ticket that's comped, so it's going to bark at me a little bit, but it'll still do it. Okay, now what you're seeing here is a confirmation that, a warning that I already had a ticket, and then a confirmation that this person was sent this email with a QR code that they can use to register. So this is all you need to do. You don't need to contact that person yourself. It's already been done by the system. And if for some reason their spam filter ate that email, we can still check them in by looking them up by name. So that's all you need to do there. Now it shows you that you have, excuse me, 3 remaining comps of the 4 that you get. Each one-day workshop gets 4 complimentary tickets. Okay, now we'll go look at the reserve tickets. So again, this button will be missing until the workshop chairs allocate reserve tickets to workshops. And once that happens, this button will appear and you can interact with it. So this little summary up here gives you the expiration date of your ticket pool and how many people, how many reserve tickets the workshop chairs gave you and how many of them you've given out and how many of your people have already registered through any mechanism, regardless of whether they registered through you giving them a reserve ticket or whether they had a paper or some other way in. Okay, and down lower you see a list of all the people in your workshop that you've added, including whether or not they've already registered. So there will be one of 3 letters here, a T, C, or a W, indicating what they've registered for. And the travel award column, you can just ignore. It's not that useful for a workshop. Okay, so obviously you don't want to give a reserve ticket to somebody that doesn't need it. So for these people that have nothing in the registration column, we would want to go give them a reserve ticket. And you may have to make a choice here about who to give your tickets to, because you may not be able to give a ticket to everybody in there. And while we're on that topic, we may have more tickets to give later in the season. And once we know that, we may be able to add a few tickets to this number. Okay, so once you've chosen some of these things, you have to go to the bottom of the form to submit it. And here you get a summary at the top of the page describing what happened. It might be a good idea to copy that and keep it for your records. And here I don't show you the email address that goes out because it has some sensitive information in it. So I just give you the summary. And one thing I didn't mention is, unlike the complimentary tickets, this interface is available to both the primary contacts and all the organizers. Okay, so once this ticket goes out, your job is mostly done. You can see, for example, when Alon registers, it will appear here. So you'll get some feedback on who's not registered, even though you've invited them. And you can then chase them down if you need to. This ticket pool lasts until October 21st at 6 p.m. So any invitation that you send out will last 2 weeks from the time you send it, or October 21st, whichever one is less. Well, it's not actually, it's whatever date appears here for future meetings. So it's 2 weeks from the time you sent it or this date, whichever one is less. And so as these things start to expire and you see people not registering, you might want to reach out to them and chase them down and ask them why they haven't registered. One possible thing that happens is the email that our system sent might get trapped in their spam folder. It happens rarely, but it does happen. And in that case, you just need to let the author know that they need to go to the website, log in using preferably this email address, and then just click the register button and they should be able to register. They don't need the email to register. It's just letting them know that they can. After you've gotten all this schedule information keyed in, it's a good idea to check to see what your workshop looks like, especially in the workshop PDF book. That's the most challenging thing. The transition from web to PDF is sometimes problematic. So to do that, click the schedule menu and bring up the workshop book PDF. The book is generated on the fly, and so it should contain the very latest information. And so we're going to look for Lee's test. There it is. And so it's a 2-column PDF. This workshop starts here. And the first thing in is the workshop's abstract for the workshop itself. And then you have a summary schedule that has just the talk titles and the times and the people. And followed by that, you have a detailed listing of all the abstracts in that workshop. And here's my fake abstract right here. And so it's a good idea to see that this looks okay. One problem that happens is with long URLs, that if there's no space in the URL, and there won't be, then the URL can bleed across columns and potentially hit someone else's workshop. If you see that happen, use a URL shortener. That's the best thing you can do for that. And then occasionally we had some Unicode issues like this, and there's not really a fix for that, unfortunately. It's just an issue with the framework that generates the PDFs. So I know this was long. Thanks for your patience. If you have any questions at any time, you can email lee@salk.edu, or you can text me at +1 619 316 6224, especially if we're at the meeting and you're having an issue. Feel free to call me or stop by the registration desk. Thanks again.